mainstream.
So you can all be in a job, but you are resentful of those who are earning so much more than you.
Yes, no, I agree with that. So in some countries, that's where I was going, so thanks. In some countries, it's going to be creating the jobs. In other countries, it's going to be creating good jobs that allow the opportunity for that to increase. And we have focused too much, I think, globally on just counting the number of jobs rather than focusing on what the quality of the job will be. And I think that's what's going to have to happen, not just having numerics that count the number of unemployed.
I just wondered whether globalization actually is creating income inequality around the world, because it empowers employers to look all over the world. They've got a global labor force now. And so there's constant pressure to find someone cheaper who can do it, and that widens the returns for the guy with the capital, but it puts downward pressure on the worker.
And also, I think, for instance, look at
is it in Indonesia? Is a concern about inequality rising too?
It is. It is a concern now. Yes, definitely. I think poverty have reduced significantly, but the gap between the poor and the haves is really there. And I think part of the reasons is because our economy is often designed as an urban-based economy, industrialized-based economy. And in the case of Indonesia, for instance, in which the countryside, the rural economy, or agriculture-based economy has not yet touched as much as the industrializations. And that helps to actually see the gap between the haves and the have-nots is almost also equivalent to the gap between the rural and the urban. And I think part of the reason too is because our education is designed to supply urban life. I mean, our education is not designed to enable you to live in the non-urban setting and able to produce. And I think that's also part of the reasons why we're seeing this gap widening.
Kishore, for me to look at
Professor Paul Chesty and all participants, allow me to express my appreciation again. Thank you for having me after my first visit last May. And it was indeed one of the most memorable visits to a university. This is one of the oldest, and it was a very brief visit. So we planned to do a second one, and we thought by the time I completed my term as governor, we will have more time. That's what we thought. Apparently, that's not the case. And this is my second, and I truly appreciate the invitations, not only to the university, but also the invitation to serve as one of the board members for the Institute for ASEAN Studies here at Oxford University. So it is indeed a privilege and honor to serve. I look forward for that, and I'm very much hopeful that the institutes will provide more appetite to the world to pay more attention to Southeast Asia. And as we know, Southeast Asia is one of the most peaceful region in the past 50 years.
He's former governor of Jakarta, Anies Baswedan, and it's a delight to welcome him into the studio. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting, Beverly.
Lovely to meet you. Now tell me, you've met with the Foreign Minister Penny Wong and also the RBA Governor Philip Lowe. I think every Australian wants to meet with him at the moment with these rising interest rates. It is a sign that our government is taking you very seriously and your potential presidential bid. What was important about you? What did you feel was important about coming here and meeting with someone like Penny Wong, someone like Philip Lowe?
Yes, indeed. I'm delighted with the invite from the Australian government to visit. And we both were neighbors, and we'll always be neighbors. And we had worked closely on many issues. And the invite here gave me an opportunity to reconnect with many friends, academia, people in government, as well as business communities, for exchange of views. We said... Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, good morning, everyone. The Honorable UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, fellow governors and mayors, ladies and gentlemen. It's a city government has a duty to provide livable living environment for its residents. And this includes addressing climate change impact by making efforts to reduce cities' carbon emissions. Cities globally have done so by putting in place commitments and resources in establishing climate action plan and delivering actions in transportation strategies, building codes, promoting clean energy, and many, many more. So ladies and gentlemen, cities across the globe are taking bold actions. So is Jakarta. Jakarta commits to be a climate resilient city, and at the moment, Jakarta is moving from car-oriented development to transit-oriented development. And Jakarta is leading in sustainable transportation and mobility transportations, and we would like to continue even further. So in these occasions, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to propose the assistance that cities needs from the UN. The UN may have a big role for supporting cities across the globe. First of all, the UN could encourage countries to acknowledge the achievements of climate actions at the city level, and that need to be calculated as part of national determined contributions of climate actions. Secondly, within the United Nations capacity, the organizations could lend a hand to foster vertical and horizontal integrations at actions and at policy levels. Lastly, toward the COP26, the United Nations could also support countries to defensive architecture and financing structure to translate the benefit that are obtained by national government in the global forum to be executed at the local level. Thank you very much.
If I may interrupt, may I just would like to say that we are fully on board with your suggestions. We'll do our best with our agencies and country teams to fully support your perspective and in our global advocacy with governments to do exactly what you ask us to do in relation to your own governments.
Thank you very much.
In terms of planning for the future, you belong to a country with a big population, with a growing population, and a huge proportion of young people who are going to be really impacted by these changes.
Thank you. I think that the challenge that we have in Indonesia is also perhaps similar to many developing countries across the globe. Preparing our youth, preparing our next generations to be part of the fourth industrial revolution's era. And for that, look at our profile or our pictures today. I said yesterday, the phenomenon that we are facing. Our students were 21st century students. Our teachers were 20th century teachers. And our classroom is 19th century classrooms. And this is perhaps a phenomenon that is being faced across the globe. And I think to improve this, or to tackle these gaps, government need to focus on empowering stakeholders. In our case, stakeholders of education. And the key stakeholders of education are parents and teachers. These are two agents that is often overlooked whenever we're talking about
If I pick this ayat, the ayat says, وَإِذَا تَبَسَّمَ مِنْ حَبْلِ مِنْ أَنْ مِثْلِ حَبِّ الْغَمَامِ وَإِذَا تَبَسَّمَ أَنْ مِثْلِ حَبِّ الْغَمَامِ. You want to know the description, the ayah, the meaning? I give you in Malay. Apabila beliau tersenyum, senyumnya sejuk, butiran embun. Dan bila beliau berbicara, seakan mutiara berjatuhan dari ucapan